I've said it for years. Everybody needs a fan. But is the AC Infinity Aircom S6 the right one for you? Stay tuned to find out. Hello YouTube, Chris the Frugal Audiophile here with you again for another review. And today we're going to take a look at the AC Infinity Aircom S6, which is a bit of a mouthful, but I guess I've heard worse, but just to save time, from here on out I'm going to call it the S6. And this is an AV equipment fan. It's something that you put on top of a piece of AV gear to keep it cool. And I picked up this piece of equipment to go on top of my Denon AVR-X 1300 in my bedroom system. And I had two goals in mind with this. The first one was, of course, to keep the receiver cool, because cooling a piece of AV gear can prolong its life. It just helps it run smoother and hopefully for longer, but also to keep myself cool, because I am laying right next to my TV, and my AV rack is underneath that in a stand. You may have seen that in my system tour of my bedroom system back here. And so being that close to it, some of the radiated heat from the AV receiver was reaching me and warming me up, especially in the warmer summer months. In the winter, it's really not a problem, actually kind of welcome. But in the summer, I could feel it, and my face would get kind of flush a little bit from the heat. It wasn't a big deal, but it was a bit of an annoyance. And so I picked up this guy to help solve that issue. And this is a rear exhausting fan. It pulls air from the front as well as the bottom. On the underside are two fans, actually where they're located. And so it pulls heat from there, the AV receiver or whatever piece of gear you put on, and then shoots it back. Now I know that the heat will still fill the room, but at least it's pushing it away from me, and then it can go up behind my AV stack and lift up to the ceiling, as heat does, as heat rises, of course. So that's why I picked up this unit. I thought, as long as I have it and I've unboxed it, I might as well do a video and talk about it, do a review for you guys. So hopefully you will enjoy this review. All right, so to begin, let's talk about design. So basically, this is a 6 by 11 by about 1.5 inches, maybe like 1.33 inches cube or squared unit. It is made out of aluminum as per the spec sheet. It weighs just under 3 pounds, so it's not the heaviest, but it's got some bulk to it. It doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel like just a flimsy, piece of junk. I actually have seen plastic Blu-ray players that weigh less than this thing does. So it feels substantial, but yet not heavy. It's not like it's going to weigh down your AV equipment and put dents in it. It's perfectly fine, because there are 4 silicone feet on the underside of it as well that help distribute that and keep it from scuffing up your other gear. And it says that this runs at a maximum of 240 watts. I believe that is when the fans are running at full blast, which most people probably aren't going to keep them that high. It'd be pretty loud if you did, and not necessary. So that's at maximum. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Probably a lot less under normal use. And it's not going to run all the time unless you set it that way, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the video. So that's basically the design of this unit here. And this particular model, this is the 11-inch model, the rear exhausting. It is rear exhausting. It costs $50 on Amazon. Just a couple of other design features. You see there are grills on the front here. There are some on the back as well as on the underside. And then the rest is just, ungrilled, or whatever you want to call it, enclosed housing that it's inside of. And it says that the operating sound pressure level or decibel level of this unit is 20 decibels, and it is a little bit on the louder side. So we will get more into that as the video goes on, but that is something to keep in mind. So basically what you have here is 2 small PC fans inside an aluminum housing with a thermostat, a controller, and a power supply. pretty simple, straightforward unit. Nothing too complicated about it, but yet it's a very nice package. And I think they're asking the right price for this, and we'll get more of that as the review goes on. All right, so let's talk about some of the features of this unit. This is a fairly simple, straightforward unit. They have more advanced units with like an actual LCD screen on it with characters on there. This is just a few lights and then a couple of buttons. The programmability is fairly limited on this unit. So basically what it does is when the temperature reaches 88 degrees of your piece of AV gear, I believe there is a sensor on the underside of it. When it reaches that 88 degrees, the fan kicks on and then it cools the unit in a couple different ways. I'll talk about that in the mode section until it reaches 84 degrees and then it shuts off. So it's going to keep your units at really no hotter than 84 degrees, at least not for a prolonged period of time. So that's something to keep in mind there. If that's not what you're looking for, if you want more programmability, you're going to have to look at the more expensive options. It does offer control over the fan speed. I believe there are 4 settings for that. And then there are 4, technically 3, but they say 4 programmable modes. The first one, of course, is off. And off is just nothing, obviously. That makes sense. I don't call that a programmable mode. I call that just being powered off. That's how it's listed in the manual, though, as one of the modes. Then, of course, it has always on, which you can set the variable speed in that mode of what you want the fan to be while it's always on. Then there is auto. And what auto does is when the temperature reaches 88 degrees, it kicks the fan on at whatever speed you set, cools it off until it hits 84, and then shuts off. Okay, that's auto. And then you have the smart feature. What the smart feature does is similar, but a little bit different. So it basically kicks the fan on at 88 degrees, and then as the temperature lowers, the fan speed lowers. So for every 2 degrees, the fan lowers down a notch of speed until it reaches 84 degrees, and then it shuts off. And you can set the maximum speed that it starts at in that mode with the fan speed control on it. So those are the 4 modes of this unit. Fairly straightforward, fairly simple, but they are not super customizable. Functional, but not customizable, and we will leave it at that. This brings us to the assignment for this unit, and that is to keep my receiver as well as myself cool at a relatively low noise floor and price. So how did it do on this? Well, let's talk about what it gets right. And the first thing is it does keep things cool. It helps to mitigate some of the heat that is given off by my AV receiver. It seems to be cooler as well as so do I. I don't notice as much heat. I do notice some still because 84 degrees, although cooler, is still not as cool as I would like it for the ambient temperature of my room. But for one piece of gear, that's better than 90 or whatever it may get as it goes above what this fan controller can do inside of it. So it is doing its job there. It also is a good price. I really think that $50 is the right price for a unit of this size with these features. Not to mention the build quality feels very solid for a unit of this price. As I said, a lot of devices in this range, such as Blu-ray players, they can be kind of a cheapy, plasticky, lightweight feeling unit. This does not feel that way. It actually has some weight to it. So what did it get wrong? Well, the first thing that I am going to note on this unit is that the controls of it are not very customizable. As I said, they're functional, but there is no ability to adjust the temperatures, either how high when it turns on and how low before the temperature turns off. So there's no customizability there. The more expensive units have some other features and some other monitoring as well that this unit it just doesn't have. You're just not going to get those things in this price range. Those things cost more money. They take longer to program, and so it's going to raise the price of said unit. At $50, it's functional though, as I said. And it also knocked off some points for that noise floor. And this is probably the main area where I'm taking off some points because I knew the feature set going into it and what I was getting into when I purchased this item, but I did not know how loud it was going to be. And Is it tolerable? Yes. Could it be quieter? Yes. Am I keeping the unit? Yes. Because there's not really a quieter or better option on the market in this price range, and it is functioning how I would like it to. And I am learning to adjust. So at night when I go to bed, I like to shut off my TV, and then I turn the volume down really low and allow the television program to play like that as I fall to sleep. And while I'm doing that, I can hear this fan kick on, and it does kind of, I don't know, nudge me a little bit out of falling asleep. It's not terrible, and I think I have adjusted to it. I've had this for 3 or 4 months now, and I think I have adjusted to that. So it's not real bad. It could be a lot worse. It's definitely quieter than when my heat or my air conditioner kick on. And so it is okay. I was hoping that it'd be a little bit quieter though, so I took off some points for that one as well. What did this unit get for a frugality grade? Well, I am going to give it a very solid A-. I almost gave it an A, but for the 2 reasons I mentioned above, I had to take off some points, and so that brings it down to an A-. Look, it does what it says it does. It's a solidly built, high-quality unit. I just wish it was a little bit quieter and had a few more programmable options in it, but it doesn't tell you that it does, so can we fault it for that? Well, no. But for those reasons, I did have to knock off just a little bit, but an A-, I'm still going to recommend this product, which does bring me to my recommendation. And that is, if you are looking for something to keep your AV gear cool, you want it to be high quality, well built, and compact, and you don't want to spend a whole lot of money, your budget is around that $50 mark, get this one. It's your best choice out there. It works great. Get it and don't look back. However, if you are concerned about that 20 decibel noise floor that those fans produce. Now granted, it's not all the time, because if you keep it in auto or smart, it's going to shut off. But if you are concerned about that, then you're going to have to look somewhere else. You're probably going to have to spend a little bit more too in order to get something that is quieter and has more programmable features. But at $50, you can't go wrong with this unit. Just keep in mind that 20 decibel noise floor. Well, I thank you so much for watching this video and my hopefully fairly quick review of the AC Infinity Aircom S6. If you like this kind of content, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Also, check out my Patreon and buy me a cup of coffee. All the links will be down there in the description for you. Check those things out. And remember, frugal doesn't necessarily mean